Hello everyone, this is Talal Hussain and I hope all of you are doing great. Now this video is about 3 sad reading and writing errors that everyone is making. Right now, by everyone, I mean obviously most of them, but I've seen, many students of mine, they're making these errors and they're, doing these mistakes. Now, obviously there are many more. I just cherry picked these 3 for this video, so that, you guys can go through it and, November is on the way, December is on the way, all the other test attempts are on the way. So, in any other test attempt that you go for, you avoid these mistakes so that you can get that score that you want. So 3 mistakes that everyone is making, but I don't want all of you to make this mistake, right? Now, before I start with this video, I would really want and I would really appreciate that you guys subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon so that you can get regular updates to all the videos that we are making and all the content that we are making, so that, you can achieve that dream of yours to get that 1500 plus score, so that you can also get into those elite colleges and top colleges in the world. Now, let's move on and see the 3 mistakes that everyone is making on the reading and writing part of the digital SAT. Now, the first is from the reading and writing parts, standard English conventions, right? Now, there is this common rule: when you have a noun and you have the description after it, which you also at times call a positive, normally, you put this description or this appositive between 2 commas. This is how it normally goes, right? But there is a special scenario. There is a condition where, you'll have this description and you'll have the noun as well, but you will not have the commas that I just talked about, right? So, this is what we are going to study, and we're going to solve this question to understand how this actually works. Now, this question says, a recent study tracked the number of bee species present in 27 New York apple orchards over a 10-year period. Blank, entomologist Heather Grapp found that when wild growth near an orchard was cleared, the number of different bee species visiting the orchard decreased, right? So what we're talking about is, how it increased, but, the question is about the conventions of a standard English. So if you look at it, it says, which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English, right? So this is the question that you have to feel, that you have to see how you have to solve it. Now, normally you have this as your noun, you have this as your description, and normally what we do is that we write 2 commas, we write it between 2 commas. But what we have to understand over here is that if we have the description before the noun, so if you have the description after the noun, so for example, if I say Alan, president of a certain company, is planning a trip, so that president of a certain company is the description of that particular noun, I have to write it between 2 commas. But if I write that president of a certain company before the noun or before the name, so I write president of a certain company, Alan is doing something, so that will not have any commas, right? So that is what you have to remember. If the description is after the noun, it has to be between 2 commas. And if the description is before the noun, it will not have any commas. And oblivious to this fact, most of the students, they go for this option, and they do, mark this error, this option as their answer. And this is one of the biggest mistake that, most of the students are doing, because they find it like, this is a pause, there should be a pause, and you have to do it like that. No, you have to remember, if the description of that particular noun is before that noun, you do not need to use the commas. And obviously, if you not use the commas, there is only one option over here that has no commas. It is obviously not option A, it is surely not option B, and it's not option D. It has to be option C that has no commas over here. This is one thing that you have to remember. So order is very important for descriptions. So if you have a noun and you have the description or the appositive right after it, that appositive or the description will come between 2 commas. But if you have the description before, if you have the positive before and the noun after it, that will not have any commas for it, right? That is something you have to or you need to remember, right? So this is the first mistake, and I warn you from this mistake. Many of students, they are making this error, so you should, avoid it. Now, the second mistake that most of the students are making is when they join 2 independent sentences. Now, guys, there are many ways of joining 2 independent sentences. You can do it with a comma and a connective. You can do it, using only a semicolon. You can use it with a semicolon and a conjunction. You can use it doing a, period. You can, do it using a a colon if the second sentence is the description of the first one. So there are many ways of doing that, but we're talking about the one where we use a semicolon and a conjunction and a comma. So the normal way or the traditional way of joining it is that you put the semicolon before the conjunction and you put the comma after it. That is normally how we do it, right? But there are scenarios, there are conditions where this won't work, and the right answer would be comma would come before the conjunction and semicolon would come after it. That would be the right structure. Now what we have to understand is when this is correct and when this is correct, because this is normally very confusing for students who learn rules from boundaries, and they learn all those rules related to the punctuations and everything, and when they go to their exams, this is something that they find very troublesome, and it gets a little confusing, especially if you do not understand how to go about it, right, and how to maneuver and how to walk through all of these rules. This is very important that you have to understand. Now just remember the fact, if you have these two sentences, right, there is a conjunction between it. So if this conjunction is in line, so if this sentence is, for example, positive, and if this sentence is positive and the conjunction is moreover, in this scenario, the conjunction will be first, the semicolon will be first, the semicolon will be before the conjunction, and comma will be after the conjunction, right? But if the two sentences are not in sync, if the two sentences are not in line, so for example, if you have your moreover over here, but the second sentence is not, the second sentence is a bit different. If you have, for example, two independent sentences, right, and you have a conjunction which is, for example, moreover, and you have a second independent sentence as well. So if this is positive and if this is negative, and you have a moreover which says, that talks about joining two continuous sentences, this will be incorrect over here, right? And in this situation, what you'll do is you'll put a comma before and you'll put a semicolon after it, right? And this is how you go about the sentences. And normally this conjunction is joining this sentence with the one that is written before it, right? So that is how it works. Now let's read the question and then move about it. It says, using satellite remote sensing, Dr. 𝐸3 director of NASA's Harvest Africa initiative, gathers important data on crop health. 𝐸3 doesn't just compile the blank, she also shares her findings with the African farmers, enabling them to make data-driven decisions about managing critical food crops. So you have to understand what's going on over here. You have to understand that the first sentence is saying, the first sentence is telling us that, she is using remote sensing, and using that remote sensing, this is, what she is doing. And she just doesn't do it right in that way. So this sentence is the opposite of the first sentence. So we know that the first sentence is the opposite of the second sentence, and the third sentence is in continuation with the second sentence. So just what I told you, that you have a conjunction that is though, which talks about the opposite, but the next sentence, that sentence that is following it, is not opposite, it is the continuation. So for that situation, you need a comma first, then you should have the conjunction, and after the conjunction, you should have the, after the conjunction, you should have the semicolon. So if you move on with it, right, if you move on with it, so over here, there is only one option in which this is the case. For option B, you have two commas, then in option C, you have a semicolon, and then in option D, again, you have only a comma. So the only answer that can be your answer, the only option that can be your answer over here is option A, right? So option A, you can do this. So this is again one of the errors that many students are making. You should remember and not make this mistake when you are solving your questions, right? So the third one is from words in context. Now, this is a very conventional questions. All of them are very conventional questions, but for words in context, there is one approach that students normally miss out that I want you guys to, remember, and that is, to make sure that you work out a word first and then move on to the options. Now, the mistake that most of the students make is that, before working out the word that should be the answer, or before working out the word that should come in the blank, they move on to the options, and they end up, confusing themselves. They end up confusing themselves a lot, and that is why they at times, don't get to the right answer. So just before reading the options, just, get to some positive, some negative or neutral, at least connotation of the word, that should be the answer, or that should be a part of the blank. And once you have that word, then you should move on to the options and test the choices. And then, you can do it, in ways. So if you look at it, it says, set in a world where science fiction tropes exist as everyday realities, Charles Yu's 2010 novel How to Live Safely in Science Fictional Universe traces a time traveler's quest to find his father. Because the journey at the novel's center is so blank, with the protagonist recocketing chaotically across time, the reader often wonders whether the pair will ever be united. So something is happening chaotically, right? So there is a chaos, something related to chaos, you need in your blank. So we know that it has to be a negative connotation that should be the answer, or that should come in the blank. And now when we move on to the options, if you look at it, it cannot be premeditated, it cannot be inspirational, and it cannot be fruitless, because you need something negative and related to chaos. So premeditated is more of, positive and planned, not related to chaos. Inspirational is a positive word, again, not related to chaos. And fruitless is negative, but again, it has nothing to do with chaos or chaotic, right? So that is why this cannot be your answer as well. So the best answer over here will be haphazard. So it became very easy for me because I knew the type of word that I had or that I need in the blank. So if you know the type of word that you want in your blanks, then these questions become very easy for you to solve. So these were the 3 mistakes that normally students are making. I want you guys not to make these mistakes. Go through them again. If there's any problem, just mention that problem in the comment section, and we'll try to, respond and help you guys with your problems, right? So thank you so much for watching this video. This was Ṭalal Hussain signing off. Just, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon. If you have any problem, just keep on following it. We will, work out. If you have any suggestions on the videos that we should make, you can give us the suggestions as well in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.